Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back, as always, to another video. It's Antonex. You do not need me to tell you how big the patch yesterday was, and so we're just going to dive into a little bit how we can adapt and what we need to change about our games to play around all these new changes, which I love. We'll talk more about that at the end of the video, though. We're going to jump right in with the Minion changes, which now that they release a Soul Orb upon death, regardless if a player lands the last hit or not, this is going to completely shift the lane phase. I shouldn't say completely. I think it's really going to shift the lane phase away from a passive, really farm-heavy focus towards direct engagement, which previously, if you recall, the optimal play really revolved around staying safe from damage and out of sight of the enemy heroes while securing the last hits and denies. But now aggressive play is more viable since killing the troopers requires much less attention, and it's going to happen in spots where you can't plan or see them from a safe spot. And so as a result, players are going to be encouraged to fight over the area that the troopers are occupying in order to push objectives, but also be in position to get confirms, denies, because now those souls are up for grabs whether you're there to see it happen or not. And additionally, denies are a little bit less effective, only granting 35% of the soul value as opposed to the previous 50%. Simply denying your opponent isn't enough to win lane control anymore or outpace them really over time, unless unless you're denying everyone, and which that's not going to happen. We'll skip past that. So lane presence, guys, no longer just about playing safe and denying and minimizing mistakes. It's about actively controlling the space in lane, creating pressure, and you got to force your opponent into a bad position where they can't secure their own orbs, and you can maximize their own poor positioning to hopefully get a kill. This is a massive shift that turns the early game into a much more dynamic and aggressive laning experience as compared to where you were trying to be kind of as passive as possible beforehand, while also getting as many shots off as possible while keeping yourself safe. Next thing, guys, movement is going to be more important than ever. The removal, obviously, of the fourth lane, combined with all the adjustments to the map layout, the geometry there, it's drastically increased the importance of efficient movement. The introduction of all like these higher elevation buildings that are much more common now, and the longer travel distance between lanes means that positioning and pathing is going to be much more critical and numerous than ever. The rotations are much harder to execute cleanly now, so the movement techs and wall jumps, like the real crazy ones that you see people doing, you should probably start putting some time into learning those. I know I really am, much more seriously than I was a week ago, because these are going to be crucial as it comes to rotating to team fights or objectives quickly. The players who master these movement techs are going to have a significant advantage in both those aspects, and getting caught in what is now like a literal concrete jungle, I think that's a fun thing that they should lean into. They should do that. Between the concrete jungle between the lanes can easily add like a 10 seconds to your rotation, and we all know how fast that is in video games, not just Deadlock. This shift is going to really force teams to think ahead and plan their player positions carefully and be much more aware of where the enemies can be lurking, because they can now like really push really far into your side of the map without you having any sight of them, which I think is really interesting, is also going to create a lot of frustrating moments. Another thing that I've noticed already is almost every game so far, actually, I've noticed this, but players are really slow to rotate simply because the map makes it much more difficult. Keeping all the lanes covered at all times is more critical than ever. I think it's hilarious that they dropped the amount of lanes in the game, and like already there's less people covering the lanes. Like, I think that's funny. At least in my games that I played last night. I haven't loaded it up yet tonight. I'm recording this video first, so then I'll go boot it up. But with the increased jungle presence in the mid game, a 1-to-1-to-1, one person to each lane default setup with 3 teammates that can farm the jungles, completely viable, but it's crucial to have those players stationed near each lane at all times, because responding to an objective under threat now takes significantly longer. And if your first indication is that the objective is being attacked, that's how you find out the objective is being attacked, the voice line plays, you're probably already too late in this version, where last you could speed zipline over there. It's probably screwed. And on top of that, verticality plays a much larger role in the engagements because there's so much more of it now. High ground is more valuable than ever because certain paths, certain movement techs you're only going to be able to hit if you're on top of this roof at this time. And this means that fights now, team fights, are going to be dictated a lot of the times by who has better positioning rather than just pure mechanical skill, and much more so than in the prior version of the game. And this is an aspect of Deadlock that was crucial, but not nearly as much as we're going to find it in this patch and the patches moving forward. The map is just so big now, even though they didn't literally make it bigger, it plays much bigger. There are going to be some players who are completely unable to rotate to fights, even with ample warning and communication, just because of how much time it takes to traverse. I will say though, guys, if you have been enjoying the video and you're looking for some weekly Deadlock coverage, I would very much appreciate a subscription. That's what we're doing here once a week, and maybe a little bit more if a really exciting patch that deletes an entire lane from the game shows up. I'll make one in the middle of the week too, like we are here. But we're going to jump right back into it. The mid-boss now, guys, is just as accessible. You can get in there pretty much just as easily. Not quite, but close. But escaping after engaging with it or stealing the rejuve has become significantly harder and gives a significant disadvantage to the team exiting the pit because you can slide down the stairs super fast, can't go back up them nearly as easily. And this means that teams that are fighting for the mid-boss are going to have to commit much more and make much better decisions to secure it without being wiped out in the process. And honestly, guys, I would expect to see, like, unless it's a really one-off situation where you just need the rejuve and you don't care about objectives, I would expect the one-man Infernus or last steals to like completely evaporate because it's just simply too difficult to actually get away safely. You have to spend multiple seconds in clear line of sight of enemy players to escape, making the mid-boss fights obviously riskier than ever. And that risk-reward balance has shifted, making it a much higher stakes objective. Expect to see a lot more deaths in the mid-pit these days, guys. And that's all I got for you this time, guys. I wanted to get a quick one out to go over some of the real substantial gameplay changes that we're going to see, because this patch, guys, has just got me really, like, excited. I was literally having, like, stimulation overload yesterday at work, like, trying to scroll through the patch notes, text my buddies about it, and, like, read all the forum comments and shit already. It was really exciting, and this is what, like, I think is, maybe I'll make a video about this, but, like, this is what I think is so exciting about being in, like, in the development stage of a game like this and being a part of this, is that, like, we get to experience these this is so far beyond what I thought they would be changing at this point. I thought we might get a hero redesign, and I thought that would be like a radical change. I thought that 4 lanes in Deadlock was a major identity point, that, like, Valve was like, we are proud about this. This is a selling point of our game, something that other games do not have that sets us apart. They were like, fuck that shit, get that shit out of here, dog. Actually, we just have sick gameplay. And yeah, dude, of course, that's exactly what it is. And I think the verticality is really that unique. Verticality, third-person camera is the real unique part about this game. That's the identity that people are really holding on to more than now, especially without the 4th lane. Now, when I really think about it, no, it's the verticality, it's the third-person perspective that makes this game really special and makes me want to put damn near 500 hours into a closed alpha game. I'm gonna be here for the long haul, guys. I hope you will be as well. I love Deadlock. I love you. Have a fantastic night. Peace.